We finally have the first piece of casting news about the Harry Potter television show, and it's probably not who or what or how you would expect it to be. Everyone would expect that the first bit of casting announcements would probably be Harry and Hermione and Ron and some of those characters, but no, we've got our Dumbledore. But it's not been officially announced by Max and the people over at Warner Brothers. It was announced specifically from the actor, which I'm not even sure he was supposed to do. But let's go ahead and dig into it. Before we kick things off, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Give us that subscribe if you want to keep up to date on the latest in entertainment news and reviews of the newest things coming out in theaters and on TV. And just visit criticalist.com. But moving on into this casting announcement, kind of, sort of, it's that John Lithgow is going to be playing Dumbledore in HBO's Harry Potter TV series. And first you might be asking, wait, there's a Harry Potter television series? I thought we had all these movies and whatnot. But yes, we're actually getting a full rebooted television series version of this. And honestly, a lot of fans think that this is a fairly good idea, considering the fact that a lot was left out of the films. The books are very dense, and so there's just a lot of things that couldn't be covered, but that also brings into question a whole lot of other things involving how this show is going to be made, how they can keep up with production. And one of the things that John Lithgow mentioned when talking about his casting, which is his age now and where it will be when this show actually completes. But we'll get into that in a minute. If you don't know who John Lithgow is, John Lithgow most notably was in Third Rock from the Sun. At least I think for most of us 90s folks, that's the thing that he's most known for, is being on that television show about a bunch of aliens living on Earth, and he was the dad. But also in recent years, he's done things like Interstellar, and he was in How I Met Your Mother and Dexter. That actually was one of the more memorable roles for me that he's done. But this guy's been in pretty much everything under the sun. He's been around forever. He's an older actor. And honestly, he's right about that perfect age for someone to be playing this character. They made sure to show him with the beard here in this photo. But essentially what happened was that John was doing an interview with Screen Rant, and this was actually on film. And essentially what happened was they were like, hey, you're sitting in front of a bookshelf. Do any of the books behind you happen to be Harry Potter? And he kind of joked, and they started talking about it and delving into it. And what he says here is he says, well, it came as a total surprise to me, the veteran actor said. I just got the phone call up at the Sundance Film Festival for yet another film, and it was not an easy decision because it's going to define me for the last chapter of my life, I'm afraid. But I'm very excited. Some wonderful people are turning their attention back to Harry Potter. That's why it's been such a hard decision. I'll be about 87 years old at the wrap party, but I've said yes. So the interesting thing here is he did call it a film. Obviously, this is a television show, but clearly he's talking about Harry Potter. He very much calls it out here. And yeah, they just kind of dig into in this article, just John Lithgow in general and what he's been in lately, one of which was the recent film Conclave, which was to mixed results as far as being one of those that critics liked, but general audiences weren't quite sure about. He was in The Crown and The Old Man. So he's been busy still of late. And this is one of those things where this would be a big decision to make because this is the majority of the rest of your career. But I think obviously it's going to be a pretty solid paycheck and probably a pretty fun gig that you have this reoccurring show season after season. But the question is, like, how are they going to be able to keep up with these aging actors as far as people like him, but then also the kids, and making sure that they don't age too fast? So they're clearly going to have to hire people of the right age and then have these out at a very strict release schedule. And it should come out about yearly to year and a half tops, which is going to be pretty tough to do on a high budget show like this. Now, one of the things that I was curious about was the reception of John Lithgow and what people thought about him. And the interesting thing here, there's an article by Forbes, and it's John Lithgow confirms Dumbledore casting, the backlash explained. And so I was wondering if there would be backlash, but honestly, I assumed that the biggest backlash would be just the simple fact that he's an American. But thank God that's not the case, but the backlash is even more weird. So basically, it goes through some different Twitter posts, or X posts, and things that people have had to say about this casting, whether they had issues or didn't and were excited about it. And I think that this is a surprise that he's going to be in this. But the interesting thing about what they talk about here and the issues is that people are mad about him taking the job. because it connects to J.K. Rowling. And if you don't know about the controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling, and I found one video on this topic, and it happened to be a person complaining about the people that were going to act in this show and being complicit in taking part in anything that has to do with J.K. Rowling, which is just absolutely absurd. But like I said, if you're curious about this, essentially, she has some very politically divisive opinions, and people are going to have issues with that. And we talk about this all the time, whether it be left, right, or center. If you're talking about politics and you are making yourself very vocal about these things, there are going to be people that have issues one way or the other. And so that's the thing, though, that's really interesting, is that people are very rabid and spread a lot of fake news about actual J.K. Rowling's actual opinions on a lot of these things, and they really just boil it down to its smallest parts and start calling names versus actually analyzing any part of the conversation here. But basically, it's one of these things where, like this person points out, he says, fascinated by the criticism of John Lithgow joining Harry Potter, as if the franchise isn't wildly popular. Harry Potter is a major draw at Universal theme parks, and Hogwarts Legacy sold over 30 million copies. And yeah, it did. It sold a ton. It did gangbusters. And the thing that surprised me about this article is that actually this writer did not get super divisive, didn't call J.K. Rowling a bunch of names like a transphobe and things of that nature, and was basically just like, it's complicated. People are going to have issues. And I was surprised at the very measured take of this article, because if this was even 6 months ago, chances are it would be a lot more politically divisive and be filled with a lot of opinions by the author of the article about all of this stuff, and inserting a lot of thoughts and trying to sway the viewer in a certain direction, versus just being like, hey, there are people on this side, people on that side, people disagree. And so I was pretty impressed with this. But someone posted here that they said that this was really summing up the backlash pretty perfectly with this. And it says, Hogwarts Legacy is a really bizarre cultural phenomenon where the right thinks buying the most expensive edition is anti-trans activism, which that's not really true. That's kind of ridiculous. It's not, but anyways, whatever. When the game now contains trans and gay characters, while trans and gay people are asking people not to buy it. And that is the interesting thing, where there's this whole ebb and flow, this big push back and forth from different sides of the political aisle on the Harry Potter discussion. And it is really odd. And it's wild to see that the complaints about his casting have nothing to do with him being American, which I don't think is a big deal. I mean, if we can have a Brit playing Superman, the All-American Boy Scout, then we can have a American as Dumbledore. But anyways, yes, this is the biggest first piece of news, and I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited about John Lithgow in this role. I'll be interested to see him doing the British accent and all of that with the beard and the wizardly stuff. But another thing that I was looking around about is if there was any other solid casting outside of this, and there really doesn't seem to be any. There's a whole lot of fan speculation, and there's been some rumors, one of which being that Brett Goldstein, who is from Ted Lasso, is actually possibly going to be playing the role of, let me make sure I get this right, Hagrid. Yes, that is actually pretty interesting for him playing Hagrid, the big, groundskeeper of Hogwarts. I think that this is pretty cool, and I think that he could do a good job with it. He does humor well, and I think that he could do this role pretty solidly. But the other weird one is that Papa Essiedu, I think is how you say his name, that he's playing Snape. This is the one that got the most backlash, because, I mean, this is just, as far as looks-wise and everything else, this is a polar opposite casting scenario here. It's a bit odd. It didn't get received super well, and not in ways other than John Lithgow just literally taking the role and people being mad about it. So yeah, this is another one that I'm not vibing with. But everything else so far in this John Lithgow thing, I think is pretty cool. The fact that they are clearly searching for all types of actors all over the place, whether it be American or otherwise, to play in the series, I think is really cool. So we'll see as things develop, more people that are cast in it. Here's actually a video playing of the interview that they did, so it was caught on film, but I'll put the links to all the articles and all that fun stuff in the show notes. But like I said, make sure to throw us that subscribe. Give me your thoughts on all of this, the casting, what you think about it, and if you think that any of the controversy surrounding J.K. Rowling is going to affect this show at all. Personally, I do not. I think that that's absurd. People are going to watch Harry Potter, and even the people that talk trash and hate J.K. Rowling are still going to watch this show. Let's be straight. But do you think that the casting from here is going to go off the rails, or does it seem like they're on the right path? Let us know. Give us that subscribe, the comments, the likes. I appreciate all of it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will be back again with either more news or review. Everybody take it easy. Later.